The vastness of space had never seemed so threatening to Colonel Helena Westwood as she stood before the holographic display in the command center of New Geneva. Beyond the blue protective dome that shielded the United Nations Galactic Alliance headquarters, stars twinkled against the void, deceivingly peaceful. The year 2378 marked humanity's tentative steps into galactic politics, but today, those steps felt more like a precarious tightrope, walk above an abyss. "The Gamma Confederation vessels have moved into Saturn's orbit, Colonel," reported Horizon III, the ship's engineer. His voice remained steady, but Helena noticed his fingers trembling slightly over the control panel. "Their energy signatures are unprecedented." Helena nodded, her steel-gray eyes fixed on the red dots representing the alien fleet. The Gamma Confederation, an alliance of technologically superior species, had developed superconducting energy weapons, automated warships, and deflection shield systems. Meanwhile, Earth still relied primarily on kinetic ammunition, high-temperature bombs, and solid-fuel rockets. "What's their estimated arrival time to Earth orbit?" she asked, her voice betraying none of the anxiety coiling in her stomach. "Approximately 12 hours, Colonel," Horizon replied. "Their flagship is moving at 0.03 C. In another section of the command center, Professor Park Min-jun hunched over screens filled with complex equations. The Korean physicist had been working tirelessly on the hyperthermal plasma lance, humanity's desperate attempt to develop a weapon capable of piercing superconducting shields. His eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep, but there was a fierce determination in them. "How's the weapon system coming along, Professor?" Helena approached, keeping her voice low. Park glanced up, rubbing his eyes. "The theory is sound, Colonel, but implementing it..." He shook his head. "We're asking plasma to behave in ways it doesn't naturally want to. It's like trying to tame lightning with a paper cup." Helena placed a hand on his shoulder. "If anyone can make it work, it's you." The professor managed a tired smile. "The pressure of saving Earth is quite the motivator." A communication alert interrupted their conversation. The holographic display shifted to reveal the face of Ambassador Carix Velaran. Though humanoid in appearance, her silvery skin and entirely black eyes marked her as distinctly non-human. The Gamma representative's expression carried its usual air of condescension. "Colonel Westwood," she greeted, her voice melodious yet cold. "I trust Earth is prepared for tomorrow's military capability assessment." Helena straightened her spine. "Ambassador Velaran, the UNGA protests this unsanctioned demonstration in our sovereign space. The four-phase peace negotiations are contingent upon proving your species' worthiness." Carix interrupted, a slight smile playing on her metallic lips. "The Confederation Council has deemed it necessary to evaluate whether Earth deserves a seat at the galactic table, or whether you remain a primitive tribal world requiring supervision." The insult was thinly veiled, and Helena felt anger rise in her chest. But decades of military discipline held it in check. "We'll be ready, Ambassador," she replied evenly. Carix's smile widened. "We shall see." The communication ended abruptly. Major Yuri Kuznetsov, Helena's strategic advisor, approached with a grave expression. "They're not coming for negotiations, Colonel. This assessment is merely a pretense." "I know," Helena replied. "They want to demonstrate their naval superiority. Show us how easily they could crush us if we don't comply with their terms." Across the room, Sergeant Anya Rodriguez was reviewing flight patterns on her tactical display. The Spanish pilot's face remained expressionless, as always, but her fingers moved with intense precision over the controls of her simulator. "The Lion of the Galaxy is prepped and ready," she reported without looking up. "Fuel cells at maximum capacity. Weapon systems calibrated." Helena nodded gratefully. Anya was their best pilot, cool under pressure and with an almost supernatural skill for rocket targeting. The Lion of the Galaxy. Her specialized fighter craft had been customized to her exacting specifications. "We'll need more than one ship, no matter how exceptional the pilot," Major Kuznetsov cautioned. "I'm aware," Helena responded, turning to address the entire command center. "This is not a drill. People, the Gamma Confederation is coming to our doorstep with the most advanced fleet in this sector of the galaxy. They think we're primitives playing with toys. They believe our weapons are jokes." She paused, scanning the faces of her team, humans from different nations, united under the banner of Earth. "Let them laugh. Tomorrow, we show them what Earth is capable of." Professor Park looked up from his calculations, a new fire in his eyes. Even primitive weapons can be deadly in the right hands. As preparations continued through the night, Helena found herself standing alone before the massive observation window. New Geneva's protective dome gleamed in the moonlight. Beyond it lay billions of stars, and somewhere among them, the approaching Gamma fleet. "We will not yield," she whispered to the void. "Not while I still draw breath." The darkness offered no response, but somewhere in its depths, she knew the test of humanity's resolve was approaching at faster-than-light speed. Dawn broke over New Geneva with an ominous red glow. Helena had managed only 2 hours of fitful sleep before returning to the command center. The atmosphere was tense as tactical officers moved with urgent purpose between stations. On the main display, a massive vessel had entered Earth's orbit, the Gamma Confederation's Vortex-class destroyer. The ship was a marvel of alien engineering, sleek, with curves that seemed to defy conventional physics. Its hull shimmered with an iridescent coating that reflected sunlight in prismatic patterns. But it wasn't there for aesthetic appreciation. "They're scanning us," Horizon reported, his eyes fixed on the readouts. "Deep penetration scans, mapping our entire defense grid." Helena clenched her jaw. "A blatant violation of sovereignty." "Should we raise shields?" asked Major Kuznetsov. "No," Helena replied after a moment's consideration. "Let them scan. They'll see exactly what we want them to see." The holographic communicator flashed again, and Ambassador Carricks's face appeared, wearing that same condescending smile. "Colonel Westwood, the preliminary scan indicates Earth falls severely short of minimum defensive capabilities required for Confederation membership consideration." Helena kept her expression neutral. "We weren't aware there was a required armament level for peaceful negotiations. Ambassador." Carricks's smile didn't waver. "Peace must be maintained. Colonel, those unable to defend themselves become burdens. The Confederation Council has authorized a demonstration to help Earth understand its position." Before Helena could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. On the tactical display, the Gamma vessel's energy signature spiked dramatically. "They're powering weapons," Horizon shouted. "All personnel to battle stations," Helena ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Sergeant Rodriguez, prepare for emergency launch." On the main screen, a beam of blinding blue-white energy erupted from the Gamma vessel, striking the lunar surface. The impact was catastrophic. A section of the moon's crust vaporized instantly, leaving a glowing crater several kilometers wide. "Just a small demonstration," Carricks explained calmly, as though she were discussing the weather. "A fraction of our destroyer's capability, targeting an uninhabited celestial body. Consider it educational." Helena felt cold fury wash over her. The casual display of power, the deliberate act of defacing Earth's moon, was designed to humiliate, to demonstrate humanity's helplessness. "The Council expects your full cooperation in the upcoming military capability assessment," Carricks continued. should Earth refuse to participate or demonstrate unacceptable levels of resistance. Well, the next demonstration might not target an uninhabited rock. The communication ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Major Kuznetsov was the first to speak. That was a superconducting energy cannon. Nothing in our arsenal could withstand such firepower. Nothing we've deployed yet, Professor Park interjected, stepping forward with a data tablet. Colonel, I need immediate authorization to accelerate the hyperthermal plasma lance testing. Helena turned to him. Is it ready? No, Park admitted. But after seeing this display, I understand what we're facing. Their shields operate on a quantum superconducting principle. Our conventional weapons can't penetrate it, but a focused plasma stream might disrupt the field coherence. Might? Major Kuznetsov questioned skeptically. It's all we have, Park insisted. They laugh at our primitive weapons because they've never seen what happens when those weapons are wielded by human ingenuity. Helena studied the professor's determined face, then nodded decisively. Authorization granted. Prepare your team. As Park hurried away, Helena addressed the command center again. They think this display will cow us into submission. They're wrong. This is not the first time in human history that a technologically superior force has underestimated us. She pointed to the glowing crater on the moon. They've shown their hand. Now we prepare ours. The next 72 hours passed in a blur of activity. Professor Park's team worked around the clock, converting theoretical plasma physics into a working weapon prototype. Meanwhile, Helena coordinated with the UNGA Defense Council, organizing Earth's limited space fleet into strategic positions. The Sword Squadron, Earth's elite fighter wing, ran continuous drills under Sergeant Rodriguez's exacting command. The pilots pushed their craft to the limits, practicing maneuvers that bordered on suicidal. Higher angle on the approach. Anya instructed a junior pilot during a simulator run. When attacking a superior vessel, conventional tactics are useless. We must be unpredictable. Helena observed the training sessions with a mixture of pride and concern. These pilots would be at the forefront of Earth's defense, if it came to that. She still hoped diplomacy might prevail, though Carrick's demonstration had made that seem increasingly unlikely. During a rare break, she found herself alone with Major Kuznetsov in the strategy room, reviewing defensive scenarios. You know this is likely a suicide mission, he said quietly, his Russian accent more pronounced with fatigue. Even with Park's weapon, we're outmatched 100 to 1. Helena studied the tactical projections. When has humanity ever backed down from impossible odds, Yuri? There's a difference between bravery and foolishness. He countered. Perhaps we should consider the Confederation's terms. Membership, even as a subordinate world, might be preferable to annihilation. And live as second-class citizens in our own solar system. Helena shook her head firmly. I'd rather go down fighting. Kuznetsov sighed. I feared you'd say that. Despite his words, there was a glimmer of respect in his eyes. A communication alert interrupted them. Professor Park's excited face appeared on the screen. Colonel, we've done it. The prototype is operational. We need to run a live test immediately. Helena felt a surge of hope. Prepare your team. We launch in 2 hours. The test platform was a modified satellite in low Earth orbit. Professor Park's team had worked miracles, transforming the theoretical hyperthermal plasma lance into a physical reality in record time. The device itself looked almost primitive, a series of cylindrical chambers connected to focusing arrays, but its potential was anything but. The principle is simple, Park explained, as they observed from the command center. We supercharge plasma to temperatures exceeding those found in stellar cores. Then, channel it through a magnetic bottleneck. The resulting stream should disrupt the quantum field coherence of superconducting shields. Should, Major Kuznetsov raised an eyebrow. Science is never certain until tested, Park replied with a thin smile. That's why we call it research. Helena gave the authorization, and the test began. On the display. They watched as the device powered up, a bright blue glow emanating from its core. The target was a specially constructed shield generator that mimicked gamma technology based on their scans. When the lance fired, the room fell silent. A brilliant stream of blue-white plasma erupted from the device, striking the shield generator. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. The shield absorbed the blast. Then, almost imperceptibly, the shield's coherence began to waver. A tiny point of disruption appeared, growing slowly as the plasma continued to stream against it. "It's working!" Park exclaimed, his exhaustion forgotten in the excitement of scientific breakthrough. The shield wasn't completely penetrated, but the test had proven the concept valid. With refinements, the hyperthermal plasma lance might indeed pierce gamma defenses. "How quickly can you scale this up for deployment?" Helena asked. "That's the problem," Park admitted. "The energy requirements are enormous. We'll need to concentrate our entire power grid just to charge a single, ship-mounted version." Before Helena could respond, alarms blared again. Horizon's voice came urgently over the communication system. "Colonel, the Gamma vessel is moving. They've detected our test and are approaching the satellite." On the tactical display, the massive Vortex-class destroyer had broken its stationary orbit and was accelerating toward their test platform. "Evacuate the platform," Helena ordered immediately. "Get Park's team out of there." As the evacuation shuttles launched, the Gamma vessel fired another demonstration shot. This one didn't target the moon. Instead, it obliterated the now empty test platform in a flash of blue-white energy. Ambassador Carrick's face appeared on the communication screen, her expression no longer bearing even a pretense of diplomacy. "Colonel Westwood, the Confederation is most displeased with your provocative actions. Development of offensive capabilities during a military capability assessment is considered an act of aggression." Helena met the alien's gaze unflinchingly. "Ambassador, Earth has the sovereign right to develop defensive technologies within our own system. Your assessment has no legal standing under interstellar law." "Legal standing?" Carrick laughed, the sound like crystal chimes. "Earth has not even earned the right to invoke interstellar law. The Council has made its decision. The full military capability assessment will commence in 48 hours. I suggest you prepare your primitive fleet, such as it is." The transmission ended, leaving a chill in the air of the command center. "They're going to attack," Major Kuznetsov stated flatly. "This was never about assessment." Helena nodded grimly. "It was always about domination. Prepare for full defensive deployment. And get me the UNGA Council. We need to declare a planetary emergency." As the command center erupted into activity, Helena caught Professor Park's eye across the room. The scientist looked drained but determined. "Can you make it work?" she asked simply. Park took a deep breath. "With enough power and time, yes. But we'll need both." Helena nodded. "I'll get you what you need. Just make it happen." As Earth prepared for the coming storm, the stars seemed to watch in silent judgment, bearing witness to humanity's defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. The next 48 hours transformed Earth into a global war machine. Nations that had squabbled for centuries united under the UNGA banner. Power grids were redirected to military purposes. Civilian spacecraft were retrofitted with makeshift weaponry. It was desperate, perhaps even futile, but it was thoroughly human. In the scientific wing of New Geneva, Professor Park had assembled the brightest minds from every continent. They worked tirelessly on refining the hyperthermal plasma lance, pushing the boundaries of known physics. The superconducting effect of their shields depends on quantum coherence, Park explained to Helena during a progress briefing. We need to create a plasma stream turbulent enough to disrupt that coherence, but focused enough to penetrate at a single point. Like finding a keyhole in the dark, Helena remarked. And then making a key from lightning, Park added with a tired smile. In the hangar bay, Sergeant Rodriguez was conducting the final checks on her fighter, the Lion of the Galaxy. The craft was a marvel of human engineering, sleek, responsive, and equipped with the latest conventional weapons Earth could produce. But against gamma technology, it might as well have been made of paper. You understand the mission parameters? Helena asked, approaching the stoic pilot. Anya nodded, her eyes never leaving her pre-flight checklist. Escort the carrier ship to deployment range. Protect it while the plasma lance charges. Then provide diversionary tactics during firing. It's a high-risk assignment, Helena said softly. The carrier will be the Gamma Fleet's primary target once they realize what we're attempting. Finally. Anya looked up, a rare smile touching her lips. With respect, Colonel, every assignment against the Gamma Confederation is high risk. I'd rather die in my cockpit than live under their rule. Helena clasped the pilot's shoulder in silent understanding. As she made her rounds through the base, Helena found Major Kuznetsov in the strategy room, poring over defensive formations. You should get some rest, she advised. Tomorrow will demand our best. Kuznetsov shook his head. I've been analyzing their attack patterns from historical records of other species they've assessed. There's a weakness in their formation when they transition from scanning to offensive posture. He pointed to a simulation on the screen. A 3-second window where their shields recalibrate. If we time our initial strike precisely, we might buy enough time for Park's weapon to deploy. Helena finished, studying the simulation with renewed interest. Good work, Major. It's still a long shot, he cautioned. Long shots are humanity's specialty, Helena replied with a grim smile. As the final hours ticked away, a strange calm settled over New Geneva. The frantic preparations gave way to quiet readiness. In the command center, Helena addressed her assembled officers one last time. Tomorrow, we face an enemy that believes us primitive, unworthy of respect or sovereignty. They expect us to either surrender or be annihilated. But they've made a critical error in their calculations. She paused, looking at each face in turn. Humans from different nations, cultures, and backgrounds, united in defense of their homeworld. They don't understand what it means to be human. Throughout our history, we've faced extinction-level threats. From nature, from each other, from our own technology. Yet here we stand. We adapt. We overcome. We endure. Helena straightened her spine, her voice growing stronger. The Gamma Confederation has superior technology. Yes. But we have something they've forgotten in their millennia of dominance. The drive that comes from fighting for survival itself. They fight for conquest. We fight for our very existence. She saw resolution harden in the eyes watching her. Let them bring their superconducting weapons and quantum shields. We'll show them what Earth's primitive defenses can do when wielded by those who refuse to be conquered. A chorus of determined affirmations answered her. Even Major Kuznetsov, usually so reserved, nodded with newfound conviction. As the meeting dispersed, Helena found herself alone at the observation window again. The dome of New Geneva gleamed under the stars. Earth's final line of defense against the coming storm. We are ready, she whispered to the void. This time, the darkness seemed to whisper back. We shall see. Dawn brought no respite. The alarm klaxon sounded at a low 5:30 hours, jerking Helena from a fitful sleep at her desk. The tactical display showed multiple entry signatures at the edge of the solar system. The Gamma Fleet has arrived, Horizon reported, his voice tense. 7 vessels in total, 1 Vortex-class destroyer, 4 Nexus-class cruisers, and 2 support craft of unknown configuration. Helena studied the formation. It was overwhelming force for a mere assessment. "Status of our defenses?" she asked, straightening her uniform. "Sword Squadron is deployed in defensive formation," Major Kuznetsov reported. "The carrier vessel with Professor Park's weapon is in position behind Earth's moon, shielded from direct scans." "And the weapon itself?" "Charging," came Professor Park's voice as he entered the command center. He looked haggard, but determined. "We'll have one shot, Colonel. The power requirements are substantial." Helena nodded grimly. "Make it count, Professor." On the main display, the Gamma fleet approached with methodical precision. Their formation was textbook perfect. The destroyer at center, cruisers in diamond formation around it, support vessels trailing behind. "They're not even trying to be unpredictable," Sergeant Rodriguez observed from her cockpit, her voice coming through the communication system. "They don't consider us a threat." "Let's use that arrogance against them," Helena replied. "Execute Operation Thunderbolt." The human fleet, a patchwork collection of military vessels, retrofitted civilian craft, and hastily armed satellites, initiated the first phase of their desperate strategy. Rather than engaging directly, they scattered, creating a chaotic pattern of movement and energy signatures designed to confuse Gamma scanning systems. Ambassador Carricks's face appeared on the communication screen, her expression mildly amused. "Is this your strategy, Colonel? To run and hide like vermin when the exterminators arrive? I expected more from the mighty warriors of Earth." Helena kept her expression neutral. "We're merely taking up defensive positions, Ambassador. This is our solar system. After all, not for much longer," Carricks replied coldly. "The Confederation Council has reviewed your provocative weapon test. Earth has been deemed a potential threat to galactic stability. This is no longer an assessment, Colonel. It is a reckoning." The transmission cut off abruptly. Moments later, the Gamma fleet accelerated toward Earth's orbital defense grid. "They're powering weapons," Horizon reported urgently. "All units, execute defensive pattern Delta," Helena ordered. "Conserve ammunition and energy. Make every shot count." What followed was a one-sided engagement that could barely be called a battle. The Gamma vessels fired precise, devastating shots that disabled Earth's orbital defenses one by one. Conventional weapons, missiles, railguns, laser arrays proved utterly ineffective against the Confederation's quantum shields. In the command center, the atmosphere grew increasingly tense as reports of losses streamed in. Satellite defenses obliterated, orbital platforms disabled, fighter squadrons taking heavy casualties. "We need more time," Professor Park urged, his eyes fixed on the power indicators for the plasma lance. "The charging sequence is only at 60%. Helena watched the tactical display with growing dread. At their current rate of losses, Earth's defenses would be completely neutralized before the weapon could fire. "Colonel," Horizon called suddenly. "Long-range sensors are detecting a massive plasma storm approaching from the solar corona." Helena frowned. "Natural or artificial?" "Unknown, but it's moving too fast for a natural phenomenon. Trajectory will bring it directly into the battle zone in approximately 12 minutes. An idea formed in Helena's mind, desperate, risky, but potentially game-changing. "Professor Park, could a plasma storm affect the Gamma shields?" Park's eyes widened as he grasped her thinking. Yes, natural plasma has chaotic quantum properties that might temporarily destabilize their shield coherence. But our own vessels would be equally vulnerable. Not if we're prepared for it," Helena countered. She opened a channel to Sergeant Rodriguez. "Anya, we have a change of plans. Gather all remaining fighters and retreat to these coordinates. Prepare for Operation Solar Wind." As the human forces executed their unexpected withdrawal, the Gamma fleet pressed their advantage, moving closer to Earth itself. Ambassador Carrick's voice came through an open channel, broadcasting to all of Earth. People of Earth, your defenders have failed you. Your primitive weapons cannot touch us. Surrender now and accept Confederation authority. Resistance will only bring suffering. Helena ignored the broadcast, focusing instead on the approaching plasma storm. It was massive, a churning cloud of superheated particles ejected from the sun, now racing toward the battle zone at incredible speed. All Earth vessels, secure for plasma impact, she ordered. Shields to maximum, power systems to isolation mode. Major Kuznetsov looked at her with concern. Our remaining ships won't withstand a direct hit from that storm. They don't need to, Helena replied. They just need to survive longer than the Gamma fleet. On the tactical display, the plasma storm engulfed the battlefield like a tsunami of fire. Earth vessels, having received warning and preparation instructions, weathered the initial impact, though not without damage. But the Gamma fleet, caught by surprise, suffered a more significant effect. Their shields are fluctuating, Professor Park exclaimed, pointing to the sensor readings. The quantum coherence is destabilizing just as we predicted. Helena didn't waste a second. Sergeant Rodriguez, lead Sword Squadron in Attack Pattern Omega. Target the destroyer's propulsion systems. We need to hold them in the storm. With pleasure, Colonel, came Anya's reply. The Lion of the Galaxy led the remaining fighters in a desperate charge toward the Gamma destroyer, firing conventional weapons at the fluctuating shields. For the first time since the battle began, human weapons found purchase. Missiles detonated against hull plating. Railgun rounds penetrated outer defenses. It wasn't enough to cripple the massive vessel, but it was enough to keep its attention fixed on the fighter squadron. Professor, status of the plasma lance? Helena demanded. 85% charged, Park reported. But the plasma storm is interfering with the carrier's positioning systems. They can't get a clean firing solution. Helena made a quick decision. Redirect all remaining power from New Geneva's grid. We need that weapon at full charge now. But the city's shields, Major Kuznetsov began. We'll have to hold with emergency backups, Helena finished. This is our only shot. As power was diverted from the city's defensive systems to the weapon platform, New Geneva's protective dome dimmed visibly. The magnificent structure, symbol of Earth's unity and progress, became vulnerable to attack for the first time since its construction. Ambassador Carrick noticed immediately. A desperate gambit, Colonel, she taunted over the communication system. Sacrificing your capital city's protection. The Confederation appreciates such clear targets. The Gamma destroyer turned its main weapon array toward New Geneva, energy building for a devastating strike. Plasma lance at 95%, Park announced, his voice tight with tension. Not enough time, Kuznetsov muttered, watching the Gamma weapon charging. Helena's mind raced, searching for options. Then, a new voice broke into the communication channel. This is Sergeant Rodriguez. The Lion will give you the time you need. Before Helena could respond, Anya's fighter broke formation, accelerating directly toward the destroyer's main weapon array. It was a suicide run, one pilot against the most powerful warship in the Gamma fleet. Anya, stand down, Helena ordered. That's a direct command. With respect, Colonel, came the calm reply. Sometimes sacrifice is necessary. For Earth, the Lion of the Galaxy streaked across space like its namesake, dodging point defense fire with impossible maneuvers. At the last possible moment, Anya fired every weapon her craft possessed directly into the charging aperture of the destroyer's main gun. The resulting explosion was catastrophic, not enough to destroy the destroyer, but sufficient to disrupt its firing sequence and damage the weapon array. Plasma lance at full charge, Park shouted triumphantly. Fire, Helena commanded, her voice raw with emotion. From behind the moon, Earth's last hope emerged, the carrier vessel housing the hyperthermal plasma lance. The weapon looked almost primitive compared to the sleek gamma technology. A massive cylindrical device, with focusing arrays extending like the petals of a deadly flower. When it fired, the effect was breathtaking. A stream of blue-white plasma, hotter than the core of a star and focused to a needle-thin point, lanced across space toward the Gamma destroyer. The vessel's shields, already destabilized by the plasma storm, could not maintain coherence against this concentrated assault. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a pinpoint of light appeared where the plasma stream met the shield. A tiny breach growing steadily larger. "It's working!" Park exclaimed, his exhaustion forgotten in the excitement of scientific validation. The breach expanded rapidly, the shield failing catastrophically as quantum coherence collapsed entirely. The plasma stream struck the destroyer's hull directly, superheating the advanced alien alloys beyond their tolerance. What happened next astonished even the most optimistic human observers. The destroyer's hull began to melt, literally flow like liquid metal, under the incredible heat of the plasma stream. Systems failed in cascading sequence as the ship's structure lost integrity. In the command center, stunned silence gave way to cautious hope as they watched the mighty Gamma vessel succumb to Earth's primitive weapon. Ambassador Carricks's face appeared on screen one last time, her expression one of disbelief and fury. This is impossible," she sputtered. "Your technology is primitive, your weapons are toys." Helena leaned forward, her voice steady. "You made a fundamental error, Ambassador. You judged our weapons, not the humans wielding them. That was your mistake." The melting destroyer began to break apart, secondary explosions rippling through its structure. The other Gamma vessels, witnessing the unthinkable destruction of their flagship, began emergency maneuvers to retreat. "They're running," Major Kuznetsov observed with quiet amazement. "No," Helena corrected. "They're regrouping. This isn't over." Indeed, the remaining Gamma vessels formed a new defensive formation, weapons charging for a coordinated strike against Earth. "Plasma lance depleted," Park reported grimly. "We need at least 30 minutes to recharge." "We don't have 30 seconds, Kuznetsov countered, pointing to the Gamma cruiser's weapon signatures. It seemed Earth's moment of triumph would be short-lived, until new alerts sounded from the long-range sensors. "Colonel," Horizon called, "I'm detecting multiple jump signatures at the edge of the system." The tactical display updated to show dozens of new vessels appearing, ships of various designs, all bearing the insignia of independent worlds and smaller confederations. "This is Captain Therex of the Free Worlds Alliance," came a new voice over the communication system. "We received Earth's distress call. The Gamma Confederation does not speak for all galactic civilizations. We stand with humanity against tyranny." The Free World's fleet moved to interpose themselves between Earth and the remaining Gamma vessels, weapons armed and shields raised. Ambassador Carricks's voice, now broadcasting from one of the cruisers, had lost its melodious quality. "This intervention violates Confederation sovereignty. These worlds will face consequences." "Perhaps," Captain Therex replied calmly. "But today, they face us together. Withdraw your vessels, Ambassador. The assessment is concluded." For tense moments, it seemed the Gamma commander might choose to fight. But with their destroyer destroyed, their forces diminished, and now faced with unexpected reinforcements. The decision became clear. "This is not over," Carricks declared bitterly. "The Confederation Council will not forget this defiance." The remaining Gamma vessels engaged their faster-than-light drives, disappearing into the darkness of space. In New Geneva's command center, the tension broke. Cheers erupted from staff members who had been facing what seemed like certain death just moments before. Professor Park slumped into a chair, exhaustion finally claiming him. Major Kuznetsov stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "We did it," he murmured. We actually did it. Helena felt no urge to celebrate. Her thoughts were with Sergeant Rodriguez and the other pilots, who had sacrificed themselves in the battle. Victory had come at a terrible cost. "Secure from battle stations," she ordered quietly. "Begin recovery operations for our damaged vessels, and prepare memorial services for our fallen." The command center sobered quickly, the brief jubilation giving way to the reality of their losses. Captain Therex's vessel established communication with New Geneva, and the captain himself, a reptilian humanoid with iridescent scales, appeared on screen. "Colonel Westwood," he greeted with a formal nod. "The Free Worlds Alliance extends its congratulations and respect to Earth. Your defense against a Confederation fleet was unprecedented." "We appreciate your timely arrival, Captain," Helena replied. "Though I confess, we sent no distress call." Therex's scaled face formed what might have been a smile. "Not deliberately, perhaps. But your battle was observed by many. The destruction of a Vortex-class destroyer by a primitive world. Such news travels faster than light." He grew more serious. "The Gamma Confederation has dominated this sector for too long, Colonel. Many worlds have sought an opportunity to challenge their authority. Earth has provided that opportunity." "That wasn't our intention," Helena said carefully. "We only sought to defend our sovereignty, and in doing so, you may have changed the balance of power in this sector." Therex replied. "The Free Worlds Alliance would welcome Earth as a member, as an equal, not a subordinate." Helena glanced at Major Kuznetsov, who gave a subtle nod of approval. "We would be honored to discuss such an arrangement," she replied diplomatically. "But first, we have wounded to tend to and dead to honor." "Of course," Therex acknowledged. "We will remain in orbit to provide assistance and protection should the Confederation return. When you are ready for discussions, we will be here." As the communication ended, Professor Park approached Helena, his tired face showing renewed determination. "The plasma lance worked better than we anticipated," he said quietly. "But the Gamma Confederation will adapt. They'll modify their shields to resist our current configuration." "Then we'll need to adapt as well," Helena replied. "Can you improve the design?" Park nodded. "With what we've learned today, and perhaps with some technological exchange with the Free Worlds Alliance, yes, we can advance centuries in just months." Helena turned to look out the observation window, where Earth hung blue and beautiful against the void. The battle had left scars, disabled satellites, debris fields in orbit, the damaged section of the moon, but their homeworld remained intact, its sovereignty preserved. "We'll need to move carefully," she said, more to herself than to Park. "Today we defended ourselves, but the weapon we've created, it could make Earth a target for more than just the Gamma Confederation. Or it could make us respected," Park countered. "A voice that must be heard in galactic affairs. Power and respect are not the same thing." "Professor," Helena said softly, "one is earned through force, the other through wisdom." She turned back to the command center, where the work of recovery had already begun. "For now, let's focus on healing our wounds and strengthening our defenses. The galaxy has seen what Earth can do when threatened. Let's show them what we can do in peace." As Earth began its recovery, word spread throughout the galaxy. The primitive world with kinetic weapons and solid fuel rockets had melted a Gamma Confederation destroyer in orbit. The species that had been dismissed as tribal barbarians had deployed a weapon that pierced quantum shields, thought impenetrable. They had laughed at Earth's primitive weapons until their warship melted in orbit. And in the darkness between stars, other civilizations took note, some with admiration, some with concern, some with calculating interest. Humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage, not with diplomatic overtures, but with fire and defiance. The Gamma Confederation would not forget. Ambassador Carrick's, her reputation in tatters, already plotted revenge. But she would approach Earth with new caution, new respect. For Helena Westwood, standing watch in New Geneva's command center, the future remained uncertain. Earth had survived its first true interstellar conflict, but at great cost. Sergeant Rodriguez and dozens of other brave souls would never return home. Their sacrifice had bought humanity its freedom, its sovereignty, and perhaps something more valuable still, the right to forge its own destiny among the stars. As dawn broke over New Geneva, Helena watched the protective dome slowly regain its full luminosity, powered once again by a united Earth. Whatever came next, peace or war, alliance or isolation, humanity would face it together, and they would not be underestimated again.